I can now imagine the 2024 primaries will be a competition between which party has the even bolder climate action.
Saul Griffith holds a PhD from MIT, is a recipient of the MacArthur Foundation's so-called Genius Award, and CEO of OtherLab, an independent research and design firm.
And the Republicans who have been slow on this issue will find religion in the next few years, because finally they will be able to declare that the free market has won, and solar and batteries and electric vehicles and electrified heat and heat pumps and HVAC have all matured because of the power of capitalism and the free market, and will be ready for very bold action. It is an individual right to be able to generate your own power and participate in energy markets. And that type of libertarian attitude, I think, will eventually make all of the utilities roll over. I have an industrial solar company I'm involved with that sells solar on 20-year contracts at 2 cents a kilowatt hour. Wind is now going in at 3 or 4 cents a kilowatt hour. It is unusual to me that the solar energy that I sell to PG&E for 2 cents a kilowatt hour that's generated in Central California is sold to me in San Francisco for 22 cents a kilowatt hour. You have to ask what cluster, excuse my language, occurs within PG&E to make that true. It's not the generation cost of the problem, but it's things like billing costs and transmission and distribution and network costs that we got to focus on to reduce that utility cost. But I have a lot of confidence that we could get that to happen. That's what the legislative effort needs to be, a relentless focus on the soft costs of these things and the regulatory environment, because the hardware, if not there today, will be there by 2024 because of the extraordinary amount of battery manufacturing infrastructure we're putting in, because we continue to lower the cost and increase the scale of solar and wind production. So I'm optimistic about that. I think historically there's only two groups who've been able to afford to be advocates for bold climate action, and it's the 2% that can afford a Tesla and an overpriced solar, and it's the 2% that can afford to chain themselves to a fence in protest over fracking or something. And there's never really been a place for the American middle or even the global middle in the climate conversation, or about climate solutions. But I think the extraordinary thing about what I've just said is that you can now imagine the middle class in America and around the world aligning their economic interests with bold climate action in the near term, and then realizing, because at scale it's such an enormous group of people, that this works and is going to drive good economics. To hit a climate target that's under 2 degrees, we now need essentially perfect execution on a wartime footing, meaning the level of effort and concentration for scaling up American manufacturing that we had for World War II, meaning a deployment of these technologies at a rate we haven't seen since the very early days of the automobile, where we went from, there's photographs of New York streets that I've seen that has, it's all horses and one car in 1903, and it's 200 cars and one horse and buggy by 1913. That's what this decade needs to look like. We need the adoption of rooftop solar and heat pumps and electric vehicles to happen at the rate of cell phone adoption. We will win this fight, and we will win this fight on a classical American libertarian individual rights victory that will be bipartisan.